Hey folks, how you doing? This is Dan the World Traveler. I say again, Dan the World Traveler. I'm making this video here in October 2025, and I'm going to talk to you today about my adventure in France. I went to Perpignan, France. I'm probably mispronouncing that, so I apologize to the people of that small city in France, Perpignan, France. It's by the Spanish border, and I took that trip in March of last year, March of 2024. I was in several places. I was in Spain, Barcelona, Spain. France only for a day, and then Andorra for a day. Andorra, the country, for a day. I already made a video about Andorra, I believe. But today I want to talk to you about my experience in France. It was March of 2024, and I was staying in Barcelona for a week. And on one of those days from Barcelona, I decided to take a bus ride to right over the French border to Perpignan, France. It was a 2 or 3 hour bus ride. It was nothing. It was not long at all. And when you cross the border, I've said this before in my videos, when you're in Europe, at least these days, when you cross the border from one European another, from one European country to another European country, it's I'm sure this isn't the case everywhere in Europe. And in fact, I know it isn't, but generally it's like going from a U.S. state to another U.S. state. You don't have to show your passport or go through a customs office or any of that. Long time ago in my life, I went from Guatemala to Mexico, and I sure as heck had to get out of the bus and show my passport and do go through some other processes to go from Guatemala to Mexico. But that was a good 20 years ago, approximately 20 years ago, when I did that, and that was definitely not the case when I went from on the bus from Spain to France. Anyway, enough about that. My experience, I was in Perpignan, and again, I'm probably mispronouncing the name of that city, Perpignan, France, 3 syllables, Perpignan, France. It's in southeast France. It's not too far from the Mediterranean, not too far from the Spanish border. And I will say this: the bus, went to the bus station there in Perpignan, and everything was walking distance. I was able to walk to the town center in less than half an hour. It was that's Europe for you. Everything's walkable. It's not like other places like, say, Los Angeles, for example, where you can't really walk anywhere. You need to, but anyway, that's another conversation. But I will say this: if you ever go to France, you go ahead and do yourself a big favor and learn some French, because a lot of places in Europe, English is just fine, like Amsterdam, Berlin, and some other places. I've found that a lot of Europe, English is just fine. I always, try to be polite and learn some of the language, whether English is high, whether there's a high frequency of English spoken in a country or not. Be polite and learn some of the language of the land you're going to. But France is a different situation. I've found that France, Spain, Italy, somewhat. I've learn some of the language before you go there. Do yourself a favor, because when I was in Perpignan, I had a hard time finding people of any age, young or old, who spoke English. I actually did get lost a little bit. My phone, I didn't know, I didn't have Wi-Fi on my phone. I should probably do that next time I go to Europe. Anyway, that's another conversation. I didn't have a Wi-Fi on my phone. I couldn't get a map out and find out where I was, and how the people do. So I was asking people, young people, how do you get to the downtown? And they couldn't tell me. They were very friendly people. They very clearly wanted to help me. There was zero hostility from people, but they couldn't speak English. They couldn't help me out. But anyway, I figured a way. I just said to people, hey, I just said Starbucks. I held, hand up like I was drinking coffee. Starbucks, where? Starbucks. And they pointed, oh, that way. And, I asked enough people as I got closer to where the Starbucks evidently was. I asked enough people, where the Starbucks was, and they said, oh, it's that way, it's that way. And as I finally found the Starbucks, and I got inside the Starbucks, I was able to plug into their Wi-Fi and find out where in Perpignan, France, that I was. And I was able to find out where I was and navigate. And so that was an adventure, how I got lost. I got lost in France. It wasn't that bad, but I did get lost a little bit in France, in that city. But I say, if you're going to get lost anywhere, get lost in France, because people, generally speaking, are very nice. And again, zero hostility from the people, but, English, do yourself a favor and learn some French if you go to France. I'm not an authority on France. I was only in Perpignan for, less than a day. That's the only French city I've been to. I haven't been to any other parts of France, so I'm not an authority. But I've heard from a lot of people, if you go to France, learn some French, because English is it's a, and rightly, hey, it's their country. They can obviously, you know that I kind of like. I actually kind of liked that I had to navigate around a place, and they it's their country. So anyway, there's that conversation. But it was a real adventure. I found a restaurant that I liked, and what's kind of saved me in France was the fact that I do speak Spanish. I'm not fluent by any means in Spanish, but they're close enough to the Spanish border. That city, Perpignan, France, they're close enough to the Spanish border as to where they do speak. Some people, if they don't speak English, they'll speak a little bit of Spanish. So so I was able to navigate that way by speaking Spanish to people in France. There, a little bit about Perpignan. To get from Perpignan to Barcelona, there's, I think they call it the A9 freeway. Again, you'll pass. You won't have to present your passport or anything to get to cross the border. But I've said that a couple of times now. The city is about 119,000, but I could be wrong about that. That's an approximation. About 120,000 people in Perpignan, France. It's not a very big city, compared to other, Paris or whatnot. But that's all I have to say about Perpignan, France. Great city, lots of history. Got walking around and saw lots and lots of culture, lots of old buildings, lots of narrow streets. Very, very walkable. Very walkable, like most of Europe, But anyway, I highly recommend France. But again, you go to France, learn some French. It's going to serve you well, as you should. If you go to a foreign country, learn some of their language. Be polite. Be a polite person. Be a polite. And that's another thing. You're not going to. One of the things I really kind of liked about Perpignan, France, was I didn't see a lot of tourists around. It was, it wasn't like another, Paris or something, or Amsterdam, where you're going to see, lots and lots of tourists. Perpignan was not like that. So I had a very authentic French experience. And there's a beautiful river that runs through the city. Very, very, I'll just say it, very French. I felt like it was a very authentically French city. And I had a great time, and the people are very nice. You'll have a good time. Perpignan, France. I can't say enough good things about it. Okay. Dan, the World Traveler, signing off. Have a great day. Bye now.